Let's use GardenCAD to prepare a design for the front garden of this courtyard home. It features some compacted dolomite here, some pygmy date palms running there, some planting, another compacted area of dolomite, some dianellas planted around a feature urn, and some entrance into the front door of this property. It's just meant to show off and dress up, if you like, the entrance to this property, and replaces a very dead, flat, boring, dying lawn. Let's use GardenCAD and set out a base plan. I'll start the line command by going draw line and just click, and you can see as I move up here I can set distances. So my first distance is 6 meters. I simply come across here, and as long as that yellow indicator is showing, I can click across here, and my next distance that I've measured on my base plan is in fact 8 meters. So I can come here, there's 8 meters, then I go up 4 meters and across 6 meters. So this is the end of a driveway. In fact, I'm just taking a little time to make sure that I stay tracking and perfectly horizontally. Now I come down here 10 meters to there, and then come across here and close our shape. This is the street here. This is an area to be landscaped. This is a double driveway through there. So what I want to do now is to extend that line through to this boundary. To do that, I go to Modify, Extend. I pick the boundary, which is that one. Then I pick the line to come through. So now I have my base plan, perfectly accurate, well set out, and didn't take me too long. Just to check, information, distance, from there to there, 8,000, which is just what we wanted. So can you see, using GardenCAD to set out a base plan is very easy. It's an accurate representation of what we're going to see when we go out onto the ground. Well, our next step is to concentrate on our design area. To do that, I can right click on the desktop, pick the zoom window, and just put a box around the area of interest. That magnifies things and helps us work. You might have noticed that there was a path running in front of the windows in front of the house, which was 900 mm wide. To set my tracking to that distance, I'll go to Drafting Aids, Polar Tracking, and change what was a 200 mm step to 100 mm step. Now I can pick Modify, Copy. I can select that line there, and what I now want to do is it's asking me for a base point. So I'll go there as the base point and come down here, and we should be able to go down in steps of 900. Sorry, steps of 100. Now, that wasn't working for me, so I need to go to my snap settings. Sorry, my settings here. I'll take endpoint off and perpendicular off, and just leave midpoint on, because I suspect that will help me much better. Polar tracking is on, and our increments there. So we can OK at that point, and we'll just now see if we can go down. And again, it's snapping to a midpoint, so I probably need to take that off. So we'll take midpoint off, and I'm hopeful now that as we move down through here, it's clicking 100 mm at a time. And if you look carefully, it says polar 600, polar 700, 800, and 900. So I can do that, and we're done. So we've offset the path an accurate distance. Again, just to double check, putting our snap setting on and going to end point, and we'll go information distance from there to there, and we get 900. So I'm very confident. It's really important when you're laying out a base plan to make sure every measurement you make is accurate. Well, next I'm going to copy this line to provide the area of packed dolomite to put the pygmy date palms. So it's Modify, Copy. I'll select that line. It's asking me for a base point. I'll pick the midpoint here and just go click, 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 and up 700. And that's offset. This will be the line of planting of those date palms. I'll show you the finished photograph right at the end of this series. Now we want to trim that little bit off. So it's Modify and Trim. This can be the cutting edge, and that is the bit that we want to remove. So we're set now. This will be our date palm planting. and this our major area. The next step is to put a rectangle in the middle there and sit it there so that we can do our design. You might have noticed that rectangle sitting there. Let's now place that rectangle in the centre of the design area to be the compacted dolomite. To do that, it's just a matter of selecting the rectangle. I've drawn it 2.8 metres by 2 metres using the techniques that we've shown you before, and I'll right click and I'll move, and I'll jump to the midpoint of a construction line. That faint white line is a construction line, and I can find the midpoint of that line as well, and now those construction lines can indeed be removed. And so we're sitting looking at what will be the feature in the centre there, some Dianellas planted around there, and this leaves space for planting through here. We have to put some paving in that zone through there. Well, I like to use paving bricks in the same sort of colour as the house to create this paved area through here that you've seen already. I'll zoom in now on one of those pavers and I'll pan up a little. I've drawn a single paver, 400mm by 400mm. What I'll now do is copy that paver to make a whole slab, and then I'll move it down into position. And that's done by, again, by setting our O-snaps. We'll set midpoint here. And if we wrap a box around there, we can right click and copy, pick up by the midpoint of that line, and as we slide up, you can see we click steps, 100mm steps at a time. So I'm leaving a 100mm gap between them. I'll just roll out a little. There's nothing to stop me now selecting all of those and right clicking and copy those, say from the midpoint there, and come across there and there and there. And I'll zoom out. Now I have a mass of paving bricks which I can copy, or move in fact. Move, and I'll pick it up by that midpoint there and move them down into position. I'll roll in a little. I'd quite like a 100mm gap between there and there, so I'll come down in that way. So now I've got my paving bricks sitting through that area. I can very easily eliminate some now to provide that will take. I'll just zoom in here. If I take snap off now, and I'll just grab that lot there, right click and erase them. Now that provides me a space for my specimen tree. So we can move through here into the house, a step there if we need it, and a tree can go down through there. I'll just wind out a little bit just to remind you where we are going. So it was fairly easy to put those paving bricks in position. Now comes the fun part. We start putting our planting in. To do that, it's just planting and blocks. The first thing we might want to put in is the pygmy date palm, so we pick that, move it into position. Now they come in at 1 metre in diameter, so what we'll do is scale those down just by clicking in the middle, and we'll bring it down to about 3/4. Whoops, I'll undo that. U for undo. I obviously miscued there. Right click and scale, click in the middle, and pull away till we get the size that we want. I think the problem there was that I had left midpoint on, so we'll make sure we clear our snaps. And now it's a matter of copying that one, clicking in the middle there, and we can just move along, clicking like so that we stay horizontal and our pygmy date palms go in position as the feature across the front of the property. I think in the actual design we've got rather fewer than that, so you might like to change the spacing there. You could, if you wanted to, rotate them around. You could also go view and redraw, and that should remove the white circle, but I need to go to layers and layer dialog and turn off the construction layer. Come back on now and they disappear. So there are our date palms through there. I'll remove this, and you'll see why in a moment, because that's what we did in the actual design. I'll erase that one. We want a feature tree in here. This is a weeping grevillea, so we look again for our planting. We'll go back to layer 0, go into our planting, pick a tree that would suit the weeping grevillea, move it in position. This time you might scale it, again carefully, so that it hangs out over the top of our paving bricks. So our design is starting to take shape. we want some taller trees through here and some more planting down there. Some lomandras are going to be put in there. The feature has to go in here and some planting around there. But can you see that the whole project is taking shape very quickly indeed? Well, I want to put 3 myrtles as feature trees, stake trees as you saw earlier through there. If I want to create a more fluid feel, I can click in there and rotate them around so that the arrangement, and even scale down just a little, because we don't want things to look like an orchard. So we'll, sorry, I'm picking the wrong one there. I want scale, click in the middle, and just scale it slightly differently so the trees look a little different and the branching different. Now we want to put some massed grass-like planting through here. These are lomandras, so it's planting blocks, skid through. All the grasses are grouped toward the end here, and we'll take well, one of these, block 72. In it comes. Now these are quite small, so they definitely need to be scaled down to perhaps 300 millimeters or so. So we now copy them, and because tracking's on, we can plant at 45-degree angles if that's your want, and just waiting for the come across here and down and through and through. So can you see I can get massed planting there? There's nothing to stop me grouping those and copying those and moving a whole group of them into another zone and then filling the other missed planting out. So our planting is taking shape. Again, right clicking, zoom a window around there, and we're developing things up quite nicely. We just have to put our feature in there and some more planting through here. But I think you get a very good idea of how quick and easy it is using GardenCAD to lay out a design, and it's accurate. When you go out and build this design, there will be no surprises. Well, now all that remains is to finish off the planting of the Dianella around there, put some notes in here saying compacted dolomite there, and maybe ground cover through here, or mulching or whatever, and start putting some labels on. Labels are put in using the text command. It's just draw and text down here, and you pop the labels in. And it's a good idea to put a marker in. You can easily move things, just move that down to there and tie that maybe a little closer to the label, pick up the label if needs be and copy it from there and up to there. So now we're labelling the weeping grevillea, the xanthria and the grass tree and so on. So our design is taking shape again rather quickly. Well, finally, you might want to show your client what, for the sake of argument, a pygmy date palm looks like. So it's easy to put an image into your drawing. That's just done by going Draw, Insert Raster, click New, and we'll pick pygmy date palm number 1 and open it up and insert it, and we can just draw a box, trying to keep our boxes about the same size, and that's going to show the client. Let's roll out a little. If we can tidy up and move and level things off, I can right click and move and square those off down the bottom there. I could even scale them and then label them, so that it shows the client what that row of pygmy date palms is going to look like in that zone. So let's finish at that point. That's about a 15-minute little movie where we've been talking and explaining to you how it's done, but you should be able to see that once you gain experience, you can produce whole designs in half an hour or so.